it was cold, but I wasn't expecting the ice flows coming down the river. Well, it did rain and it did blow, and it was pretty cold for the first week that we were here, but in truth there was no ice flowing down the river. In fact, it was foam from the recent rain. While I waited for all the ducks to line up, time and tide and weather, there was plenty to keep me entertained with some pretty big ships following the tugs down the river to Bell Bay. Stepping back a bit in time, I have to confess that I've been procrastinating. Everything's new, and I'm not experienced with putting boats on moorings. And check his mooring. It's not summer anymore. In fact, it's far from summer. And then I found there was just simply no excuse for procrastination. The weather fined up. I had Sarah Ann bobbing up and down, ready to go, and this long-awaited trip to Middle Island was actually happening. There was no wind whatsoever on the crossing to Middle Island from Clarence Point, and I was able to drag out my brand new Insta360 camera. So you can enjoy a bit of my initial experimentation, and I think it shows a lot of potential for what I can do with it in the future. Today we're drifting across the Tamar to Middle Island. It was once nominated as Tasmania's northern quarantine station, so let's dive into a forgotten chapter of local history.
I like the smell of old oysters.
Middle Island sits about 2 miles from Beauty Point and about 33 miles from Launceston. It's roughly 20 acres and it rises to about 80 to 100 feet in the centre, with gentler slopes on the east and the southeast that stack up nicely for buildings, and a precipitous western side that's sharp enough to cause problems. Back in June and July of 1919, Chief Health Inspector J. Riley toured the island to check out if it could handle an epidemic, especially the terrifying pneumonic influenza that was sweeping the world. The soil looked good, rich black loam with patches of wintergrass and even clover sprouting around, hinting at surprisingly generous winter conditions. The Tamar itself had a classic maritime vibe, with steamers regularly using the stretch between Middle Island and Beauty Point because it offered excellent anchorage and shelter during storms. The harbour master touted it as the first port of call for vessels entering the river, very handy in rough weather. At the time, quarantine operations in Middle Island were limited to cattle. They ran 5 paddocks, a single caretaker's cottage and shelter sheds. There was no actual hospital as such and no staff quarters, just cows and paddocks. Water was a bit of an issue. It was collected mainly off the rooftops into tanks for the people, and the cattle watered from shallow soaks sunk near the shore. It was brackish, just 3 to 4 feet deep through sandy soils to clay. They had tried sinking deeper, but the locals said better water couldn't be found that way. The jetty on the north-northwestern side gave about 9 feet of depth at low tide. Riley noted that extending at 25 to 30 feet would suit larger ships, but at low tide you could actually walk across from Blackwood Hills to the island, hardly ideal for isolation. Even cattle made the trek unmonitored. So Riley's verdict: the island just wasn't large enough for a modern quarantine station. They'd need to include wards for steerage and saloon passengers, isolation wards, hospital, staff quarters, kitchens, laundry, a mortuary, disinfection rooms, and that's before the staff housing. Middle Island couldn't deliver space even for a modest operation. So why bother? Well, because without a northern station, ships with a single case had to steam 200 miles to either Portsea or 288 miles to Hobart. That extra expense might have stopped some vessels calling at Launceston altogether. Today, Middle Island sits quiet, grassy, with nothing more than a few wallabies and perhaps a paddy melon or two, and the remnant of a plan that never quite made it. But if you sail past on a quiet morning, you might still feel the ghost of those 1919 decisions and what-ifs. There was a gate there. A little spike on top there, maybe something decorative. Waterfly sent me their Kung Fu Sport backpack, and honestly it feels like it was made for me. There's even a phone pouch right near your ear so you can actually hear it ringing, and it fits like an old pair of slippers. If you want to check it out and support the channel, hit the link in the description. Whoa! There's more. All manner of exotic species here, lots of blackberries, jonquils, and yes, even some daffodils. But what's really surprising me is that it's only July, not even the end of July. So it's a nice little microclimate, a little warm microclimate here. The foundations. Yeah, there was a building here. Names of the wall. The foundations of what was the quarantine station, and they must have had a passion for bulbs. So you've got jonquils and daffodils, which are blooming extremely early in the year, but also these other little ones. What are they? I don't know. I should know the names of those. They're a very common little garden plant. Just beside Millie there we've got a stock trough, and there's actually an area here which looks like it's grazed down a bit. So obviously some wallabies and other macropods around the place, but yeah, the place has just been taken over by foreign species. And fortunately I did pack a little snack. So just find a little spot somewhere and see if I can, well, the worst thing about this place is the blackberries. Oh dear. And Millie has found something to roll in. What have you found there, Millie? I've packed myself a bit of a snack. Let me get the idea she's following me now. Down to the southern end of the island. How are you going to get down from there? Coming down? Hey? It's time for a bit of lunch, Millie. Let's see what we got in here. Bring it real hot. Put our lunch. Yeah. What do you reckon? Something sweet, something savoury. So we'll start with something savoury. We've got the sun just peeking through the cloud there, so we've got a grey haze, but quite bright. Yeah, I know what this will be. Such a low like all this rain. Found something, evidence of 19th century habitation. This bit of structure here is it's a bit of a mystery because it's on a part of the island very shallow out there for a long way. It all dries out, and yet there's the remains of what looks like a bit of a jetty. Yeah, maybe the shoreline's been eroded. Could have been an onshore structure of some sort, like holding yards, perhaps that sort of thing. Plenty of action on the shoreline over there. Container port, trucks coming and going, loading containers. The box carrier over there. It's very interesting. There's a very old pine tree here. It's fallen over. Very old one. Now that would be 100 years old or more. And not sure what sort of pine it is, but in the basin that's caused by the root ball pulling up, it's regenerated. I'm going to see if I can make way out to the highest point of the island, up there ahead of me. Arum lilies. I reckon there was something built in this area here, nearly at the top of the hill, but the blackberries just preventing me from getting any further up the hill. Bit of tin. Yeah, that's thin. That's thin tin. The era had very heavy gauge corrugated iron. So there's a bit of ridge cap, a couple of blocks, and it's a little level patch here where it'd be a good place to build something. Very steep little bank down to the foreshore. I can do this. Out flat on my face. I've been trying out the Waterfly Kung Fu Sport Backpack. Bit of a name, I know, but honestly it's a solid little pack. It holds 18 litres, which is just about perfect for a day trip. Jacket, camera, lunch, water bottle, even a drone if I pack light. The fabric's water resistant, the zippers feel solid, and there's a hidden pocket against your back for valuables, ideal for wandering around town or hopping onto public transport. Not that I do that. It's also genuinely comfortable. It's got wide padded straps which are a good fit that don't dig in even when it's fully loaded. I've used it all day without any issues, and it looks great too. It's got clean lines and a simple design, and there's nothing unnecessary flapping about. Just a sensible, well-built bag that does the job. If you want to check it out for yourself, there's a link in the description, and it helps the channel out if you use that one to buy. So yeah, it's a solid bit of gear, and I'm definitely keeping this one on board. It's a lost dog. Heading off. Come on, here. Oi, I'm not coming out there to get you. Millie has been a faithful little dog over the past 14 years. I always say, if you're in trouble, hug a cavoodle. She's pretty blind and almost totally deaf, but she's still brave enough to come walking with me and manages pretty much to sniff her way around the place. However, when she got on the water, she had trouble and got lost. Even getting lost in the tall grasses is enough to spook her. Well done. That wasn't that hard, was it? See how Millie copes with the terrain. For a minute. Mercy on you. This is described as water resistant. Definitely not waterproof. Put inside that waterproof bag, which is also water resistant. Waterproof.
Coming.
As you can see, the little 1950s tender is leaking more than a little bit, and something that I'm going to have to delve a bit deeper into. I've been experimenting with the idle speed, slowed it down a little bit as far as I can in fact, and now I'm finding that it's stalling when I put it into gear, so I've just got to come to terms with the fact that it's going to be revving a little bit faster than I had hoped for. The ground here is not good holding at all. It's made up of sort of pebbles over a clay base. However, the little Danforth did set rather well, although I wouldn't want to trust it in a storm overnight. I hope you appreciate my improvised boat hook. Thanks for coming along for the visit to Middle Island. I hope you enjoyed poking around that forgotten bit of history as much as I did. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and maybe even subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to help keep the channel afloat, quite literally, there's a link to Patreon in the description. A very sincere thank you to all those who already support me through Patreon. Every bit of support helps me keep making these quiet little adventures. See you in the next one.